sea turtles actually hug, and then his belly is kind of like curved this way, so that way they can match up a bit closer. The male will fertilize the female, and then the female will have tons of eggs.
Every day we make new discoveries about our world, and one thing that never gets old is learning how animals reproduce. While some animals follow the conventional method, others have much more unusual ways of bringing offspring into the world.
20. The red-sided garter snake.
The red-sided garter snake is a small, mildly venomous species found in Canada and the northwestern United States. These snakes have one of the most fascinating mating behaviors in the animal kingdom. During mass gatherings, hundreds of snakes come together in large dens, creating a chaotic scene as they slither over one another in their eagerness to mate. These gatherings, often called mating balls, can attract up to 100 males competing for a single female. As expected, one snake may mate with several partners over multiple days. Amazingly, these writhing piles of snakes can grow as tall as 2 feet. However, the sheer weight of the group can sometimes crush an unfortunate female trapped at the bottom. These dramatic mating events are so intriguing that, in some parts of the country, people gather to watch them unfold. And if there's another animal mating scene that could rival this spectacle, it would undoubtedly be that of the anglerfish.
19. Anglerfish.
Anglerfish. The love life of the deep-sea anglerfish is more like a horror story than a romance. The female anglerfish is significantly larger than the male and possesses a special bioluminescent organ on her head, which she uses to lure both prey and potential mates. In contrast, the male anglerfish is much smaller and lacks a digestive system, meaning he cannot eat. His sole purpose is to find a female and mate. When the time comes, the tiny male uses his sharp teeth to bite and latch onto the female. Over time, his body fuses completely with hers. Their heads dissolve, their circulatory systems merge, and he becomes a permanent part of her body. At this point, the male functions solely as a sperm-producing organ, ensuring that the female can reproduce whenever necessary. As unsettling as this sounds, what happens to a male honeybee after mating might be even worse.
18. Honeybees.
Honeybees hate to break it to you, but the mating habits of honeybees are far less romantic than you might have imagined. Honeybee queens mate during a special event called a mating flight, which takes place when the queen is between 6 and 16 days old. During this time, she flies high into the sky, where thousands of male honeybees, known as drones, eagerly wait for her. Out of all these suitors, the queen will mate with approximately 10 to 20 drones while in flight. When a drone gets the opportunity to mate, he mounts the queen and uses his reproductive organ, called an endophallus, to transfer his sperm. However, once the mating is complete, the drone pulls away, leaving his endophallus inside the queen. Tragically, this process rips open his abdomen, causing his immediate death. As the mating continues, the next drone removes the previous drone's endophallus before inserting his own, repeating the cycle until the queen has stored enough sperm to reproduce for the rest of her life. Talk about death by mating. Still, as brutal as this may sound, it's not nearly as bizarre as what happens when porcupines mate.
17. Porcupines.
Porcupines. Porcupines have fascinating mating behaviors, especially during the fall breeding season, which typically occurs in September. Male porcupines reach sexual maturity at around 24 months, while females mature earlier, at about 12 months. During mating season, males expand their home ranges by up to 5 times their normal size in search of receptive females. If multiple males are interested in the same female, they will engage in fierce battles for the right to mate. These fights can be intense, with males using their sharp incisor teeth and quills to attack one another. In most cases, the largest and strongest male emerges victorious. Once a male has secured his chance to breed, he performs a rather unusual courtship ritual. He sprays the female with urine to signal his intent. If the female isn't ready to mate, she simply shakes off the urine and walks away. However, if she is receptive, she remains in place, allowing the male to mount her. To ensure a safer mating process, the female curls her tail over her back, covering most of her sharp quills. We've explored the unique mating behaviors of mammals, reptiles, and insects, but birds also have a few tricks up their sleeves.
16. Frigate bird.
Frigate birds. Frigate birds are truly fascinating creatures, especially during their breeding season, when males put on dramatic courtship displays to attract a mate. The process begins when a male selects what he believes to be an ideal nesting site. Once settled, he fiercely defends his territory from rivals before initiating his mating ritual. To impress potential mates, the male inflates his gular sac, a bright red balloon-like pouch under his throat, until it expands into a striking heart shape. When a female flies nearby, he springs into action, flapping his wings energetically, shaking his head, and producing deep, resonant calls that can resemble the bellow of an elephant. If the female is impressed, she stays, and they pair up. If not, she simply moves on in search of a more appealing suitor. During the breeding season, many male magnificent frigate birds gather at display sites to compete for female attention. Each inflates his gular sac to its fullest, sometimes so large that it nearly obscures his head. The female then selects the male she finds most impressive. As intense as these displays are, the mating behavior of the next animal might shock you even more.
15. Hyenas.
Hyenas are already unusual creatures, but their mating behaviors are even more fascinating. When a male hyena is interested in a female, he approaches her with extreme caution. He uses a method called approach avoidance, where he repeatedly moves closer to the female before retreating, hesitant and unsure of her response. Once he gathers enough courage to get close, the male begins performing small, frantic behaviors to capture her attention. One of these is foreleg grooming, where he licks his front legs to make his fur appear neat and smooth. If the female seems receptive, the male proceeds to the final and most crucial part of his courtship display, the bow. He approaches the female, lifts one of his forelegs, crosses it over the other, and bows his head. This gesture is a sign of submission, showing respect for the female's dominance and signaling that he is ready to mate. Clearly, humans aren't the only ones who appreciate a partner willing to show humility and effort. But if you think hyenas are impressive, wait until you learn how pufferfish take courtship to the next level.